House of motion. For this train will not stop for those who have not grown through thy Son as well as thy Father, thy Lord and thy God. And if this train doeth stop, ye shall not be able to enter if one has not stuck thy loosened neck into thy winds of outer darkness and into the collapsing heart of thy Son. They shall be governed and have lost covenant with God myself. For a prophet that sits in the southern park, text says, nation is of my favor, and we will arise where we started, and thy north continent is now thy home of thy white entourage, Satan's home. The Mormons are my dearly beloved fall sons of men. For you whom read this, you will know your church is becoming of thy father's inheritance, thy Lord's, but not thy God's church, house, nor temple. You are supposed to open up and remember all that you can. Some of thy Lord, thy God's time, and not other times. For thy blind ones you have forgotten to feed thy animals that you pet, and many have none domestic within their homes, lest those that are stored in cold case. Ode to his brother's keeper. Keeper, where is thy strength? A word to Nephi's people. You are my agents, not my agents, for I leave agents that mistake their heritage for their true being, my golden child, whose covering themselves in white, that expound about, you are but a big white mask, and another man's leash, that the sons of Nephi's prophets have or will lead you to believe, my dear England, hath thou produced spoil as well as good for thy father? Yes, father, they would say. And this was thy first source of Nephi's prophets' delusions, as they were misinterpreted for thy sons of men, who are not also sons of God. A product of beat them or become them campaign, offending them as if their minds never wandered or tended towards me. They just cannot let go of their government for me. Many people just refuse to have faith in God. They are part of the One Nation Under God campaign, as well as correction campaigns, which is a decapitation of my sons of men on earth, as they call it. So I call it to honor them. I am thy God, and I am the Lord, the Jehovah Yahweh, and thy Christ child, my only begotten Son. For that satellite of my sons and daughters of man, I must mention to you in a whisper, exhausted gods do not stay down, like good men, but they do put themselves before me. And that is the burden your sister wears, that from which you should have learned, a lesson to witness, and a learn from denying your reactionary self, for thy grace of God is important here. For now you move with the devil, and I know this as sure as I know that your great church does not provide copies of its literature of Nephi and God in the handwriting patterns of Joseph Smith Provost. For this is thy true translation of thy records from God that have extended themselves from thy great book of Mormon. Not all kings are gods, nor will they ever be, at least not yet. You shall inherit the earth, and now look at how you are the steward, how you trash your surrounding natural environment. Where was the battle won against the government and its man-made policies, its government policies, government that steals your land, trashes your neighbor's land, and pollutants? Awaken, one. We are not sent here to protect thy garbage. We are misled warriors. Profession is not, young prince and men, more than opportunity, and this, my poor beloved sons, is your oversight that puts physicians before me. Physicians betray people by treating fellow children of God as products for market, as well as my idealism for health. Lest this betrayal must and will occur to advance to that good day of his son's return. This field of study has led men to lead their brothers to forget the land and condition about and around them. The people that follow these words of physicians watch their lives become moderated until smithereens. Lahath's descendants continues speaking in active revelation. On God's mind, as God tells us, speaks to us both forward and straight, for that is the way to thy Lord, my Lord and God, who art in heaven. That is a path, and I am taking it, because you take the lower path, and I'll take the higher way, and we will see you in the morn. This poor god of Nephi's prophets, house of the moon, whose dark spirit and old white skin doeth lead them to the eradication of thy other 11 houses of my holy land of Israel. These dark spirits doeth haunt the psyche of their darkened soul. Hath they not killed thy black young brother, and then made amends? Yes, they did. Yes, they do from their church center, and yes, in another south nation. Text says land. But the prophets of the moon did forget the virtue and center of another house of Israel. Add to their forgetfulness their position as a single link in the chain of my stars. Relations to foreign populations must not betray the other houses, for Christ was the son of my house, of thy heaven and God, that I was both built and born into and up from, doest, saith the Lord thy God of heaven from heavens, as heaven's virtue may be found in series of moments of your life, and this is not carnal yet, this is blessed, a pearl from the God before me. My kingdom come, thou shalt be finished on earth as in heaven. But this house of Nephi's prophet's son doest call up from Nephi a true and concise doctrine, far from the bath of apostate, said Malikate. Yes, said Lakam with agreement, but I do not understand now with my agency as well as my freedom that the doctrine they follow is another apostate cloaked, extending the words of Michaeliite, did finish. I commend you on the names for your planet, a blessing for 12 houses, as Satan wars with the highness and her nexteth. The trade relations between political parties in the most your free agency speaks, and you consider your free agency as wicked, when it is those that don't keep up with the are forsaken, do not spare them change but for the ones you don't know. Do not take away your doubt until you feel the substance of the character they uphold. Do not mistake the character of these you bring into your home, for although every man will be with God, you may need to kill that man if he, in warlike fashion, betrays you. Your sheath may be garnished with rings of battalions under your well-deserved lordship and managers of supervisors, and you may feel this sheath as you grab it and hang your weapon in thy Lord's chambers.